Good morning, Sheila. How are you doing?
Wayne, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I appreciate you. And we appreciate you, our listeners.
Yes.
Welcome to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our interactions, as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Wayne, our verb for today is to call. And you talked about how we use the fascinating world or use of verbs. This one has so many different definitions. I'm going to give four, and I know you've got a lot also.
You always say that, and
And it's
seemingly,
true. No pressure.
okay. Let's hear
um,
your four.
Number one, to speak in a loud, distinct voice so as to be heard at a distance,
Okay.
which is how many marriage conversations go. Where are you? What are you doing? Okay, number two, to make a request or a demand.
Uh-huh.
Number three, to command or request to come or be present.
Ah.
Number four, to halt something such as a baseball game because of unstable conditions.
All right. And as you can imagine, mine are pretty close.
Hmm.
And I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I
Yep,
have
yep.
nine.
I knew it.
Wow. You knew it, huh?
Yep.
Here's my first one. To give someone or something a name, or to know or address someone by a
Mm,
particular name.
okay.
Hmm. To use a phone to talk to someone.
Mm.
Yeah, that's kind of going out now, huh? We have Facebook and other social medias.
All sorts of other ways to communicate. Yeah.
Yes. Number three, to consider someone or something to be. Hmm. Number four, to say something in a loud voice, much like you said, especially in order to attract someone's attention, or of animals, to make a loud, high sound, especially to another animal.
Ah.
And I'm thinking, oh yes, as the geese, as I see them
Oh,
grazing, one
yeah.
one goose is always standing upright, looking around and seeing everything, and he or she is that caller to say there's
Ah.
danger. Yes, I like that.
Okay.
Next one, to describe a sports game as it is happening, especially on radio and television.
Ah.
To ask someone to come to you, like you said. To visit someone, especially for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
here's two more. To decide officially to have a particular event or take particular action.
Mm-hmm.
And to ask for or demand something. Yes. So
Wayne, how
call.
many times have we had a single word with this many definitions?
Not many. Not many, but and this one, you're right. This one was all over the map because there's so
Right.
many utilizations of the verb call. I thought, wow.
And a lot of ways to use it as a noun as well, which is always tricky when we're trying to focus on the verb. We always slide into using it as a noun as well.
Exactly. I know I do that and you reel me out and bail me out all the time. So thank you for doing that. Yes. And Sheila, where can our listeners find you?
Thank you. My email address is at yahoo.com.
And my email address is wayne@mindsyncing.com. That's MINDSYNCING.com. My website, mindsyncing.com. And again, as usual, please forward all the complaints to me. All the good things and compliments to Sheila.
And we're both inundated all the time.
Yeah.
Not
we
true.
li- and and we had such a lovely piece of feedback from our friends in
Oh,
Germany.
thank you,
Remember?
Petra.
Yes, Petra. Thank you, Petra. Just Dankeschön for alles. Anyway, hey, and do you have a? I hear you have a trivia question for us.
I do have a trivia question for us.
Okay.
In 1992, the first text message, as opposed to a phone call, was sent. What were the two words sent?
Ooh, cool question.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. I will kind of think about that as we're going through the rest of the day here. Yes.
Okay.
The rest of our 27 minutes anyway.
Right, 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 right. Fewer
So,
than that now.
Okay, call. So you said when you started thinking about it, is so many ways to go. Which way did you go?
In almost every circumstance, I went towards telephone calls
Okay.
in
All
my
right.
research. I just kept going back to that. There's so many statistics and research programs and lots of quotes certainly.
Yeah. Good. And I like your quotes, so I'm looking forward to those. As I looked at it
Yes.
initially, I kept getting inundated with all of these calls or puts options.
Oh, isn't that funny? Wow.
And I'm like, wait, no, this isn't a stock program. Come on. I'm not making any calls or puts here.
No, nobody wants to do that.
No. Yes. So, okay. And okay, would you like to start with call and talk about what you found? Or would you like me to?
Let's let you start and I'll fill in as you need to take a deep breath.
Okay. So you were talking about you're going to go around phone calls. So
A lot of them. Yeah.
that's great that I'm going to go in different places because I started saying, all right, let's look up the uses of the verb call. And so
Okay.
I started with the definitions and I go, all right. So here's one of the uses of the verb call.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a group that used parliamentary procedures
Yes.
and Robert's Rules of Orders?
Yes.
So immediately I thought of call the vote.
Uh-huh. Yep.
and and when you call the vote using Robert's Rules of Orders, there's two things that you have to do. You've got to call for the positives and you've got to call for the negatives. So calling the vote. And so calling all those in favor say aye, all
I
those opposed say nay, and then abstention. Now I did read that abstention wasn't a rule, but it's just kind of like a cursory option that people give them just to say, I'm not going to say either or. But Robert's rule says there's two. You have to do
ah.
for and you have to do against. The other is
Well,
optional.
and there's that old line, if you're not with me, then you're against me.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yes. So that's calling somebody out.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Another use that I have is call the ball. Now,
Mm,
if anybody's ever seen um, Navy movies where planes are landing on the aircraft carriers,
mm,
and you've heard call the ball, because as I understand, or I think that phraseology is no longer utilized. But what call the ball was, as the pilot was descending their aircraft to the carrier, calling the ball was you're looking for that meatball, this one light that would come on with the multi-purpose lights that says you are on approach correctly to the
mm.
aircraft carrier and you can land. So I think it's the LSO, the landing, or the LOS, the LSO. I'm not sure which one, but
Okay.
the landing officer would say, call the ball. And the pilot would then call the ball when they saw the light and they say, okay, I got it. And then they would go right on in and land. So call the ball.
So if you're watching, say, the Army Navy football game and you're sitting on the Navy side, if you were just to jump up and yell, call the ball, you'd get a lot of excited people.
At least on the Navy side, yes, you're right.
Right, right,
Yes,
right, right, right.
they would know what that is.
Right.
And as I watched the Air Force Navy game the other day,
Oh, yes.
yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, I was Air Force, so yes, all right, I was rooting for Air Force, and they did beat Navy, so they're almost there to the Commander's Trophy,
We'll
which is
see.
cool. Yes. Last, another one I have for uses of call is call the game. And
Mhm.
there are many ways to call and that you use in sporting events on TV. It can mean someone is offering a play-by-play description of a sporting event. It can mean a person is officiating the sporting event. Like who's calling the game? Oh, this is umpire Rick or umpire Jane. They're calling the game. And another way that you can call the game is it can mean the umpire in chief for any reason terminates play.
Right.
So yeah, there we go. All right. And I will now shift over to you. What do you have for us?
Well, I always love research. And there was a survey done. I've got two surveys here. I'm going to do this one first. This was done in 2021. You might remember there was a certain pandemic going on. It was
Hmm.
the University of Texas at Austin who researched about 240 adults who were in situations of isolation. I'm guessing they were maybe seniors who lived in communities that restricted people coming and going.
Okay.
And they took a group of volunteers and trained them to make a single call daily. And what they found is that they called them the sunshine calls, which were short, frequent check ins. What they found was that even if a call was from a stranger, it could alleviate feelings of depression and anxiety for people experiencing isolation. And the statistics are
Huh.
they measured mental health indicators before the study and after the study, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But they found there
Okay.
was 16% decrease in loneliness measures.
Really?
Yes, over this period of time. I don't have here how long this period of time was, but 37% drop in anxiety reports and 25% drop in at least mild depression symptoms reported. So
Okay.
that's very significant. But going back to what I was saying about people being measured before and after, it's hard to separate just by virtue of being in a study like this. People are getting attention in a situation of isolation. So I don't they didn't do a control group and a experimental group. The control group being people who didn't receive a call. So I think there was a boost in these statistics also just by virtue of these people being in the study, which
Okay.
is still a good thing for people in isolation during the pandemic. So it was a win-win. I'm just not sure you can be totally accurate if it was just the sunshine calls or participating in a project as well.
I like all of those, and those are from individuals calling individuals outwardly
Yes.
to get those smiles coming.
Yes.
I did a session yesterday. I had a group, and I told them a story of a guy. I used to be a medic, and of a guy who would come into the hospital once a week, and he was an older gentleman, very old gentleman, but the emergency room techs funk what's the word that they affectionately called him old dude.
Okay.
Because old dude would come in and go, oh, I'm dying. And they go, okay, old dude, and they would, put him, and they would fuss over him. They put him on the
Yeah.
gurney, and they would take his blood pressure. Now they're checking to make sure that he's okay,
Yeah.
but they also knew that this is a weekly occurrence, and he just wanted some
Okay.
attention.
Yep.
And so what you just said here reminded me of that. And
Yeah.
they would, they would fuss over him and do all these kinds of things, and then send him on his way. And that would always happen until football season of the next year, because Thursdays or Sundays was football games, and
Uh,
old dude wouldn't come in those days.
he was busy. He was busy.
He was busy.
Well, I will
Yes.
say that my mother had volunteered to be one of the callers in her senior community, and they were
Ah.
shut down. And so once a week, she was to call everyone on the floor below her floor,
Uh-huh.
and they called them comfort caller volunteers. And at one point, she said, once they opened their building up again, she said, "I'm looking forward to seeing friends I've never met before."
Ah.
Essentially, they had become friends over that time, never
Yes.
having seen each other. So, uh,
Okay.
but that little study was mentioned on a website I'm just going to mention called optimistdaily.com, which, we hear so many bad news. This one has projects like this that celebrate good news.
Sunshine calls and comfort calls. Yes, I
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yes.
Yeah. So back to you.
Okay, I have another use of the verb call. Call to worship. I'm sure
Ah,
we many of us have heard that. Call a meeting. Ooh, how many times have you said, okay, we need to call a meeting?
yep.
I know I've said that. Here's another one. Call something off because of low attendance, weather, technical
Mm,
difficulties, or whatever. Okay.
hmm.
Ah,
One of those meetings got called off
well,
because no one showed up.
right?
We wish.
Yes. Okay. Here's one, and I dreaded this call. This call came about 5 o'clock, 5:15 every day, every single day.
Mhm.
Because I'm outside in the street playing football where we shouldn't be,
Oh,
just having fun. And
yep,
it's just right in front of our house. But
yep,
it's my mom
yep.
coming to the front door. Wayne, time for dinner. And all my friends go, uh-oh, you got to go. Your mom's calling. Go ahead, mama.
Yeah.
You shut up. You don't call me that. I dreaded
Uh,
that time.
I remember my mom calling to wake me up for school from the bottom of the stairs. Our bedroom was upstairs. My sister and I shared a room. And when it got to the point where I hated her voice in the morning because I hated waking up, we mutually knew it was time to get my own alarm clock. And we were much more polite to each other after that.
Okay, okay. And speaking of calling, I said that was just mom calling. As you
Yes.
said, with the definition of demands, the big booming voice.
Yes.
So there are also many who have been called in. Um, the emergency response team is
Oh,
called in.
yes. Yes.
First responders, on-call personnel. I'm not sure if you had, but I've had several jobs where I've had that little pager
Yes.
or phone that you
Yes.
only. Yes, and I hated when those phones. Sometimes
Uh,
I hated it. Sometimes I loved it. It was just really cool.
oh, okay.
Crisis line counselors get called in.
Hmm.
Witnesses get called in, and suspects get called
That's
in.
right.
Yes, and then there's a.
I've been a witness, but not yet been a suspect.
Okay, good. Me too. Yes. Well, wait a minute. I was a suspect. No, wait, no. Okay, I was wrong.
Another story for another day.
Another story for another day. We have calls for help.
Yes.
And that could be as simple as, teacher, can you help me? Because I don't know, I don't understand why 3 + 3 = 6.
Hmm.
That's a call for help. Or a genuine call for help. Someone is hurt laying on the
Hmm.
sidewalk or whatnot. So yeah, all kinds of ways to call. And how about you? What do you have for us next?
Well, not calling is what I have next. Most people are aware, there's a national do not call registry in the United States
Ooh,
where
does it work?
yeah, I have used it for my phone and for my mom's.
Okay.
And it doesn't block unwanted calls, but it is a list that telemarketers have to use to not call that number. Now, it's donotcall.gov to report. You can report calls or
Mm.
get on at the registry either by calling donotcall.gov or by dialing 1-888-382-1222. And there isn't necessarily a lot of teeth behind this, but if you do get a call from a telemarketer, not a legitimate sales call, but from a telemarketer, you can report that at reportfraud.ftc.gov, federaltradecommission.gov, and it doesn't resolve your problem, but it gives them teeth to investigate and go after
Ah,
the large calling companies that are scamming individuals and businesses.
okay. Maybe I'm just not patient enough because I want those phones to stop ringing
Right.
right now.
It does take a little time, and if you ever change your number, you have to re-register your new number.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
All right. There should be a little box that you can just check as you're buying your new phone, next iPhone or whatever,
Yeah,
that
an
says, okay,
automated.
and
Yeah,
if you check this box and sign your name, we will block all, spam calls.
yeah,
They
yeah.
sh-
That'd be great.
okay. Are you listening, phone companies?
Right, right.
Yes.
I also have a couple quotes here. I'm just going to
Oh,
give you two,
good.
and they'll give two more later.
Okay.
This goes back to what we were doing about the sunshine calls. And this person, J.K. Simmons, said, if you are lucky enough to have a parent or two alive at this point, call them. Don't text
Ah,
them, don't email, call them on the phone.
wow. Cool.
Yeah.
And why do you think she says call and not text?
Well, my mother at 94 would love to have an iPhone, but would never quite learn how to do it. And and I heard one grandmother say, "My way of texting is on the typewriter." So
Okay. And they just want to hear your voice.
they want to hear your voice.
And they're
It's
old
it's like that
school.
sunshine calls. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Second quote here, real quick, before we come back to you, is Aaron Hill, who said, "Don't call the world dirty because you forgot to clean your glasses."
Ooh,
That's a food for thought kind of thing.
I like that. That's deep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes I can come up with a deep quote, Wayne.
You,
Yeah.
I think you come up all the time. I think you keep selling yourself too short, too short. No, no,
Well, my
no.
next two are from comedians, and so I'll leave those for after as we get
Okay,
closer to the end of the show.
okay. We often call for new rules, regulations, or policies, which is
Yes.
a demand for others because what is taking place is not working, or what's
Right.
in place right now is not working.
Right.
We call for change.
Yes.
Now, who's ever heard this expression? Call it a day,
Yes.
call it a night,
Yep.
and from Hollywood, call it a wrap.
Yeah. Good.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, one of my definitions was, um, where is it? To visit someone, especially for a short time. Here's one: calling on someone. Again, just going to the next door neighbor and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Just want to see your smiling face and say hello."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Just visiting people. A teacher calling on a student to ask a question.
Hmm.
All right. We can also have, ooh, and here's here. Oh, this is, I like these, and this is a marketing term. As I did my research, I found that marketeering, they say marketeering started this. I'm not sure if it's marketeering or business or whomever, but call to action.
Ah,
Call to action. And what that meant is, what will you do based on our discussion?
right.
Meaning all the words that we've written in this article. Now, if you're ready, just click this button. That's your call to action, click, which is going to that towards that marketing scheme. What will you do now that you have graduated from high school, college, or whatever? That's a call to action.
Okay.
What will you do now armed with this new information that you just
Right.
learned? Yes, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Another call to action. Everything I read points to, again, being a marketing concept initially that has morphed into other practices such as businesses, personal life, community, and sports. And to name a few, here are some. Why are they important? To keep people moving gives them something to do next. And there was an article that talked about, just people being stagnant and, oh, woe was me. But they say if you keep them moving, it gives them something to do next. And they are, oh, okay, I have something to do. So I have to clean up. I have to dress up. I've got to whatever that is. They make it easy to measure. So it says more people do this than we are, to know that we are on the right track.
Okay.
Another one is they increase conversations because if people see others doing it, hey, they might copy the behavior.
Okay.
Okay. And the last one I have, why is this important to have call to actions, is they prompt immediate action. You Something to do right now. Okay, yes, let's go do it. Um, you've heard the kids, oh, well, what am I going to do? Well, you can go play in the big.
Yeah.
Here's
Play
the
in the
one.
street.
Okay, you can go get in the water now, but don't kick up sand as you run by anybody, and don't lose your hat, and keep those balloon things on your shoulders because we don't want you to get, and don't do this and don't do this. Now go have fun.
I think okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. And I'm looking at the clock. It's
Okay.
23:30. So we're good. And
Okay.
you have some more quotes and other things for
I
us?
do. I do. Robin Williams, comedian. Why do they call it rush hour when nothing is moving?
Ooh.
Okay. And Snoop Dogg, a rapper, said, "When I'm no longer rapping, I want to open an ice cream parlor and call myself Scoop Dog."
How fun.
I like that. When a person can laugh at themselves, that's the best kind of humor. So I
Absolutely.
do have some statistics, which I love. How and why people are using their phones. This is a survey of 1,000 American customers. The company that took this survey is called WeBoost.com, and they're a company that helps boost your phone call, your internet coverage. So of course they have an investment in the outcome of this survey.
Mm-hmm.
So you always want to take it with a grain of salt. But they said 55% of these 1,000 American consumers communicate with their phones making phone calls daily. I thought 55%.
Mm.
Okay. I personally am one of those. My husband and I made the decision last time we moved that we would let go of our landline, which is a big decision when you're in our generation, because what if, there's an emergency and you need to call out? So we are now totally cell phone. So we would be 100% using our phones daily.
Okay.
85% of these Americans surveyed use their phone weekly. And here are the somewhat racy statistics. 68% of people have called someone while they are sitting on the toilet.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, 37% of people have fallen asleep while on the phone. That that
That's
I'm trying to
funny.
imagine that scenario. 29% have answered a call during a romantic situation.
No way.
How important is that call going to be? I don't
Ah,
know. On average, a different survey said that people spend 5 hours a day on their phone. Now, obviously, they're not talking just about calling, but all the other things that those phones do. So there are some interesting statistics and not even part of our trivia question this morning.
okay. Okay, that begs a question though.
Okay.
We are on Skype. Is
Yeah.
this considered a phone call?
It's a Skype call.
It's a Skype call. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
we,
we're still using the word call
where would that fit
in that survey.
in that survey? Yes.
I would think that WeBoost.com would support that as part of their survey, but no, I think that especially I don't know the date that the survey was taken, but especially when everybody was working from home again during the pandemic, those numbers would be inflated
Okay. All right.
because you'd be putting Zoom and Skype in there too.
Okay, dokie.
And I
I'm
just
looking
made
at the
that up.
clock. It says 26:49.
Okay.
So we're close. Anything you would like to say that you didn't?
I will answer the trivia question.
Okay. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. 1992 text message, 2 words. What were they?
Merry Christmas.
Really?
Yes.
How fun.
And another little fact is Alexander Graham Bell, National Telephone Day is April 25th, honoring the day that he introduced his electric speaking machine. But 17 years before that, an Italian immigrant in New York City introduced his telephono. And in 2002, the U.S. Congress voted to give him credit for being the actual first person to invent the telephone.
Excellent.
So,
All right.
but everybody knows Alexander Graham Bell's name, and very few people know Antonio Meucci's name.
Okay. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Wayne. Any other details you need to mention before we thank our guests?
I just wanted to say 2 things. A positive
Okay.
side of call to action, talking
Yes.
about allyship. Stand with those that most need help. And I remember that kind of makes me to remember the song by Lee Greenwood, God Bless the USA.
Ah,
I just like that. Anyway,
thank you.
I'll
That's a
leave
good
the
call to
closing.
action. I would say call a senior in your life and just to check in on them and say hi
Excellent.
if you can this week. So thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Wayne.
everyone. Thank you, Sheila. Bye bye.
Bye bye.